And Uade Ahimie is also here. Good morning.
Good morning, leaders. Good morning, Chibuzor.
And with that said, we'd like you, our listener, to be part of our conversation this morning, reacting to any of the headlines morning, dissecting if you chose to on 0800981. Looking forward to reading all of those interesting messages as your reactions to any of the stories this morning. Let's pick up this first paper, and I'd like Wadi to get us started with the copy of the Punch newspaper. And this headline seems quite punchy and to stare you out of your sleep this morning, or even if you're still feeling much of the holiday, feeling like a rest even on your way to work. The headline says, not 6 months allowance, federal government to spend 315. Well, go back again to get that headline across to you. 6 months allowance, federal government to spend 315 billion naira. Labor suspend strike for 30 days. That's what the Punch newspaper says.
So, yesterday, the president during his, or on Sunday, the president during his independence address had stated that they were going to pay an allowance of 25,000, and the labor unions had actually rejected that, and the chief of staff had come out subsequently to say that it had been increased to 35,000, and it was going to be paid to all federal workers. And I guess yesterday they had a meeting, although the paper is saying 11 p.m. on Tuesday, but I think it was 11 p.m. on Monday, um, and which they agreed and ratified the 35,000, which will kick off as allowances from September 1. So there's already a backlog. Um, I'm one that has continually said that I do think that the civil service minimum wage should go up. Cost of living, even before the cost of living being this high, I don't think 30,000 naira is the right amount to be paying to entry level workers in the civil service, irrespective of how you look at it. To make our civil servants more competitive and be able to focus on the things that they should do. I don't think that this the allowances should go up much higher from the 30,000 is currently being paid. And I guess this is a win for labor. The other thing now is, where will the government get the funding to pay it? But, like, subsidy has gone out, so there are some savings there. So I guess part of those savings will be put into use in this case. So based on some of the agreements yesterday, Labour has agreed that it would call off its strike for another 30 days. I do hope this time that the government will be sincere in following up on this agreement. We know one of the reasons why Labour had called for the mother of all strikes, like they called it, was because from the onset, after the president had announced subsidy removal, the government had agreed that they were going to do a number of things. Those things were slow in being done. Some of them have been done and have been done through the things like the palliative. Labour had continually asked for increments, increasing in civil servant salary, which fell on deaf ears. So I guess the government has also promised that it will vote 100 billion for the provision of high capacity CNG buses for mass transit in Nigeria.
Mm.
The question here for me will be, how quickly can that be done? Do we have enough plans to, or are they going to import the CNG buses? How long will it take to get those things done?
So is it just in the 30 days, one will be asking now is what labor needs to see done to finally put, just say, okay, there won't be any strike that would cripple the economy right now. It's just the 35,000 naira being paid across board that will pacify them while government does the other short-term measures.
I guess there are two things. One, the 35,000. Two, the promise of three things. The promise that they will accelerate the buses that are going to come.
Yeah.
and put 100 billion in CNG buses. And the third one for me will be the fact that they've, okay, let's settle down and do it, better negotiations now that you have a minister. So we'll see how it goes.
Now that takes me to Chibuzor Nwaezeapu. The next headline is from the Vanguard, and it says here that banks' borrowings from CBN rise 79% to 269.6 billion. Now that's from the Vanguard newspaper. So borrowings, borrowings, borrowings. Now, do we really see a translation of all of this in terms of small and medium scale businesses? In terms of the
So basically, there was a comparison. What the Vanguard has laid out is basically a comparison statistics from the central bank with regards to basically a reflection of what is happening in the financial industry. So the banks have increased their lending from the central bank between last year September and this year September that we just concluded by 79%. The standard lending facility grew by 79% in that period. Um, yeah, the obviously, like you mentioned, that should typically point to the fact that there's been a lot more borrowing or by the banks to government and private sector.
Mm.
And the big question you've asked is the big question a lot of us have been asking for years. We've been seeing, and and this is my personal opinion. We've seen the bank numbers growing and their profits, revenue growing from year to year. Especially in fact, at the end of the last quarter, the first quarter of this year and the second quarter of this year, I think banks are probably the only institutions that were not hit by any of the other environmental factors that hit Nigeria and the financial industry, such as the new measures on forex, and even the cash crunch that happened in the earlier quarter of the year. The banks obviously have been in the financial industry and key players were able to make a killing from it in quotes. And this is something that Nigerians have asked over the years that, with the banks making all of this, what's the impact on the economy? Now, that's a big question for us to ask. Obviously, the shareholders of the banks hopefully would get their slice of the cake when the earnings come in and they start sharing everything out. But it's also a question for the CBN. The CBN has put into, I know that CBN has several regulations in terms of how much the banks how much is deposited in the banks and how much they can lend out. There's the ratio for that. But also for the banks there are several things. So I'm going to be devil's advocate for some of the banks at the moment. For the banks to lend out money, particular things need to come into place. Some of these things need to be viable. Some of them they need to have to some they need to be able to recover their money to start with. They need to really get some value on the money that they come out. And you can't separate that from what is happening externally within the economy today. So if the banks do have those guarantees, then obviously they're able to make their money. If not, it's less risk for them to just take the money, trade with it, you know, and declare profit to their shareholders at the end of the year. So that basically seems to be what is happening largely. Then obviously, like there was a lot of talk about how much the banks have made from charges on account maintenance. How much had been made from when the banks basically just charge you for transactions, like when you do USSD transactions and all that. There's a lot of that coming through.
Yes.
What I would hope for one day, and I do hope that this new current dispensation in CBN would push, is that we see a lot more value for what the banks are doing in the larger economy. We see a lot more actual banking by the banks and value creation instead of just waiting to deduct charges, take those things, and where the views of the common Nigerian on the streets feels that, hey, these guys are just, taking advantage of me. And a lot more collaboration to expand the financial sector, especially inclusion.
All right, real growth in the economy of the country. With all of this rise in the borrowings, you more want to see show working. That's what people would want to say. But Wade, I come to you with this one. The Nation newspaper saying 100,000 pounds bribe trial. The UK court slammed staff bill terms on former Petroleum Minister of Nigeria, Desiani Alice Madeke, is being given this very tough bail condition, and then amongst other things to wear wristband, confined around the house, and then she's now considered as a flight risk in some of the reports also making the rounds. So let's get you dig into the story and leave the details bare for us.
Okay, so I think it was yesterday or I think over the weekend. Um, the news came out that the former Minister of Petroleum Resources under the Goodluck Jonathan administration had been charged to court for £100,000 bribe. A bill of 70,000 has been set, giving her additional conditions. She was arraigned at the UK's National Crime before a Westminster's magistrate court by the UK National Crime Agency. The bail is quite high when you compare the amount of bribe
Yeah.
that is said to have been taken. But aside from the £100,000, which I think,
But before you go further, even dig into that, for £100,000 bribe, the amount set for bail is already is past half of it already for the bribe collected. I just the logic there.
well, usually bails are high so that those who will person are around. So you're not just so from them arresting you, at least you are going to lose a substantial amount on it. And a number of other allegations that have come with it. She was charged with receiving bribes in the forms of cash, luxury goods, flights on private jet, the use of high-end properties in the UK in return for her contracts. The FCC has said that they are also pushing for extradition, which we've been on for a number of years now, over 8 years, and so on. So let's see how it goes. We remember the Bori case. We tried so much in Nigeria we couldn't, and then the UK government arrested him. And let's see how the Desiani case will go. Usually for
Doesn't this bother you in terms of justice delivery relating to Nigeria? I'm just going to line before I see a green light for traffic, but let's see this one here, where now once, twice, it just seemed the convictions, people who we want for trial here get convicted on the other side. Why is it that easy to get?
Well, I don't think it's easy because she's been there since 2015, and if investigations have been going on and it's taken almost 10 years to finally get something or get evidence that you can use to bring her to court, it then means that a lot of digging has gone on, and I do think also that the EFCC probably has a number of things, and let's see how it goes.
Do you see anything that investigative agencies in the country can pick from the books of people on the other side?
I let's be careful about always do you understand, trying to cast our investigative system down. I do know that sometimes a lot of work is done. Some of the evidence that was used in the UK against the Boris, some of them came out of Nigeria. So let's not always be in a hurry to say, oh, XYZ. If you're not in Nigeria and you're battling to extradite or has fallen short of the law in your country, then sometimes it does take a lot of time.
Yeah.
We're Smooth 98.1 FM, where it's still freshly pressed. We'll just quickly go for this traffic green light, and then when we come back, we get your thoughts in on 0809 444 0981. Send those messages in as reaction to the headlines we've looked at so far. Still more to come.
I think that's the typical thing that forces agencies in Nigeria to go and do show and tell. They quickly just pick up the person, parade them, hold them. I think because of some of the necessary pressure that doesn't,
by putting
external
pressure on them,
they just go and pick up people without the case, and after a
so just to have someone to say,
oh, that we have done this,
or because of the level of lawlessness of the executive. Do you understand? Oh, go and pick the person. So, for instance, like the current EFCC chairman, you get, you just arrested him. Like Emefiele, you had to push you. If people didn't complain, and of course, Bawa has a lot of back and forth with people who he has tried to deal with, and also nobody even cares about.
Nobody has mentioned
Emefiele's own is because is CBN, and you can't continue to hold the ex-CBN governor unnecessarily because international and local community are watching you. It sends a bad signal to the financial system, even if people hate it within the financial. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So let's always be careful to castigate them because they are under
Chip,
unnecessary pressure.
We're back.
They are under so much pressure to deliver.
Freshly pressed, and it's the 3rd day of October 2023. To newspaper where many fear that as an explosion rocks illegal refinery in Rivers State. Now, as you take the story, I'd also like you to, at some point, also link the story to uh, an explosion that occurred on the Benin Lake Warri Benin axis, where a tanker rolled over, and then Nigerians rushed there to pick up to begin to scoop fuel, and then there was an explosion. They're still counting the losses as we speak now. This was just Sunday, and here we are. This one happening in Rivers from an illegal refinery. Speak to us.
So on Sunday, when we were we were for all intents and purposes celebrating our Independence Day anniversary. I think our 63rd Independence Day anniversary.
It's our
Yeah,
63rd. We don't think
as a
about it.
country.
It
No,
is.
I was trying to do the maths in my head,
Yes.
so I'm not keeping track again.
Okay.
Our 63rd Independence Day anniversary, Independence Day anniversary as a country, and basically at that point, looking back at where we are, looking at where we are, looking at where we could be and where we should be. Um, a lot of our citizens have lost their life to something that is preventable or could have been avoided by several degrees. The why they got to where they've gotten to, it's obvious. It's obvious for everybody to see. These are poor people. Well, I don't want to use the word. Sorry, sorry. These are Nigerians who are trying to eke out a living, and in their desperation, danger and safety regulations are thrown to the wind. Everybody who's older than a child knows that petroleum or petroleum products can be dangerous, especially when exposed and not exposed to any light or anything. That there's always the threat of explosion. These people knew it when they went there, but as far as they were concerned, the gains of trying to take this risk over was them to put their lives at risk, and this is what has happened. It's what it is in Nigeria today, and we have several more of these instances. I think Omatseye was pointing about the explosion, and the same thing. You have a tanker has gone over. There's always the threat of an explosion, but people will still take the risk and say, you know what? If I can get just a small bottle of this, I can sell it off at whatever, either the unofficial or the official rates or unofficial rates. I will get enough at least to be able to feed myself for 2 or 3 days. The risk is worth the while. We need to get the point where people in Nigerian citizens one day know that their life is worth something, that these kinds of risks are unacceptable. We need to get to the point also when the security agencies and regulatory agencies are able to stop this kind of operations that put people's lives at risk, because this is just one of many, really. Everybody, we all believe that this is one of many so-called illegal refineries operating within those areas, and they have operated for a while, extended period. We need to find a solution to stop these operations. We need to find a way we bring dignity back into the lives of Nigerians, and when they look, every Nigerian feels that there's more to his life than a pittance that is not up to his, that's not that he can't doesn't even give him more than $10 a day or $1 a day. So we need to get to that point where yes, hopefully Nigerians do get some can value their own lives and can now ask for the right things from their government at every single level to improve their own lives.
This moves beyond mere coincidence when you consider the distance between Delta and Rivers, and this incident of explosion happened, independently on the same day in this neighboring South state. And in this case, we're not even talking of the Delta one now, just in passing. We're talking about the one that happened at the Ibas community, MOR local government area of that state, and we just and there've been several there's been explosions in that area.
So yeah, it's my condolences obviously to those who are, the families of those who lost their lives. It's obvious given the fact that you would have more of these operations in the Niger Delta region and the oil producing state regions, you are by bare math you are more likely to have those kind of occurrences within that same region. But that being said, we've had some of these occurrences even pipes where you had pipe spills and people had gone to go and scoop. We've had everywhere there's also a tanker going through on the road. We've had it on Lagos Ibadan where tankers have gone over. This thing exists. The thing is, for me, it's the motivation of people to be able to put their life at risk, to be able to scope out this thing needs to be removed. If people can find dignity, can find value, can find something to look forward to, they will not be putting their lives at risk. So that's what it is. But yes, also the security forces should help us get this illegal infrastructure shut down.
All right, thank you very much. Let's get over now to this next story, and it's going now to Uade this morning, and it's from the Nation newspaper. Help us break it down. The excess crude account withdrawal. Federal government to refund 1 trillion naira to states. That's some money coming in, and let's see, how did we get here?
So over time, I guess the federal government had borrowed some of this money towards funding some of the federal government activities. The usual agreement is on the excess crude account. The states get about 25.6% of the monies that come in. So over time, government has not been remitting some of those monies to them, and I know that the states had complained some time back. But with more monies coming in now from subsidy removal, we know that almost 1 trillion was shared for August during the national allocation, what's it called, funds. So at the end of the day, the state seem to be getting more money. Now, what they've said is about 1 trillion had been taken before now. They would pay that over a period of time, maximum between 50 and 100 billion, which would be, they won't pay that once every, added to additional allocation so that you are not just pumping too much money already. We have about 65 trillion in the economy, and everybody continues to say we can't see this 65 trillion working. So that's what it is. The spokesman for the federal government has said that's the approach that they're going to take. And at the end of the day, we're looking at the states getting more and more money, additional funds going in. But let's also remember that the inflation rates are climbing.
All right, that said, we've got a copy of The Guardian and a copy of the Punch newspaper still waiting for us to grab this morning. But let's get on to the messages waiting already. I've got Abbas Oladipo who's in this one saying that, well, it's really funny that we focused our attention through labor to civil servants, salary increase like we have always done. What happens to all the other workers who don't earn salaries from the federal government and places like private schools, hotels, and some other enterprises that don't pay even the minimum wages to some of their workers be compelled to increase beyond this minimum wage? Well, this is more not even a minimum, it is just for 6 months. That's what the government is saying now. How about states that even find it difficult to pay salaries before now? The problem of salary is more than just running to the federal government and threatening strikes all the time. But then time will tell if this is true success for labor. Well, we hope that day doesn't come where government would then say, well, do what you want then if you want to strike. But let's get into catch this message from Veronica Uju. The bill fine to Desiani isn't a problem for her because based on all the allegations of theft she's accused of in Nigeria, Uju says, I think the judge felt she's got the cash, more like cash, madam. Moving away now, move here, we see this one. It says, Olumide from Lekki. First off, do not be misled. Petrol subsidy has been back for a while, probably from when dollar hit 850 naira. Diesel moved from 680 naira per liter to over 1,000 naira per liter. There is no way petrol would remain at 590 naira per liter without help. Buying gas-powered buses is a waste of money. 5,000 buses wouldn't be enough for a country of this size. Lagos alone needs around 1,000 of it. Then, how many places nationwide will be able to refuel gas-powered vehicles? And it goes on. I can go on and on with the issues of our plan. I have my own suggestions that I believe would be more impactful and can be done immediately and wouldn't cost as much, or at least not more than the existing plan. But I will stop here. Let's get in the next message. This one is from Olabode. Olabode from Surulere says, on the Allison matter, UK knows that stolen fund is on ground. And some UK wants to Genibe and interprets saying chop their own. That's what Olabode sent in. Ajayi Oloniluwa from Magodo Jari Sherry says, this Desiani matter is another proof that of the wrath in our judicial system or justice system. There are hundreds of Desiani out there enjoying their illegal loot while the average Nigerian is battling severe poverty. Ajayi Oluniluwa sent in that one. And Cisco Delgado comes up with a message here. I won't blame those people involved in the explosion. There is hunger in the land, and then you trade your life for just that. Isn't that risky now with all the injuries that you can recover from in life? And then it goes, besides, those that are supposed to secure, what are they doing? Cisco Delgado.
So does that give the Nigerians excuse to risk their lives and the lives of other Nigerians? Doesn't give it.
Fabian from Ekberg goes on with this one. I beg to disagree with your analyst. A cursory look at our investigative arm will show that they do have a lot to learn. That's in response to the way the UK have conducted the investigations, and they've convicted 1, 2, 3 now high-profile persons. That's what it's responding to. The last government ruled on the anti-corruption drive, yet another country is the one who ends up prosecuting her. The same occurred with the former governor, the US oil bribery issue, etc. To mention a few, we still remember what happened with the Hush Puppy case. Let's be humble and work to improve. Fabian from Ekbe. I've got Gilbert Musa from Festac. On proposed investment in CNG buses, let's ask ourselves if BRT bus service in Lagos has been a success. I can tell you with evidence that BRT service has failed in Festac. That's what he said. Reason is road infrastructure has failed correspondingly in Festac. Let's fix the roads first. Comes in this one from Tunde Busari. Death from scooping fuel from a fueling tanker is on the dead. Their mindset is similar to that of a criminal. There is no excuse for it. This really has nothing to do with government. It's just the terrible mindset of our people. If there is a falling tanker or damaged pipeline, stay clear of that area. Simple. That's today's advice. And then Dami from Ikeja drops this one for us. We have a president who promised to reduce the purchasing power of the people while promising to widen the tax bracket. Nigerians are poor and are getting poorer. When you steal his daily bread from a man, there is nothing he can't do. And this will leave us with a message from Yinka Bolu saying, condolences to the families of the people operating illegal refineries. I'm sorry, there is dignity in sweeping the roads. Being a laundry man or woman, Okada, keke rider, it goes on and on, but they choose to refine crude illegally. I'm sorry you saw it coming and your greed blinded you, and then it goes up with a message. More message, no talk. And then it goes on. What else are we finding here? Well, I see our last message from Olu from Malacca. I don't understand this NLC. Do they only cater for federal workers? And then that's a wrap on the show this morning. I want to say thank you to Chibuzor Nwaezeapu for your time this morning.
Thank you, Mas.
And I want to say Uade.
Thank you, Mas.
And that's a wrap on the show. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Good morning.
Yeah.